Welcome to part 7 of the Rebels campaign for Empire at War. Last time we saw serious gains as we pushed across the galaxy, sacrificing many peoples in the name of the rebellion in order to clear the Empire from Naboo and Sullust in 2 decisive battles, and indeed all the rest of their planets but one, including a decisive battle at Hoth that we didn't actually get to see. So with that done, it's just Endor that the Empire control, so we're going in right now to take it, and with any luck we'll get plenty of locals to sacrifice as well. As you may remember, Endor is the home of the Ewoks, everyone's favourite killer cuddly bears, and indeed they're all over the place fighting on our side. In fact, they're really in amongst the Empire's positions, just all over the map. So fighting breaks out right away, and the Ewoks are getting absolutely annihilated by artillery and laser fire and turbo laser towers. It's all just an absolute massacre, but it is distracting the Empire from fighting me, and they are actually killing a decent amount of the Empire's infantry somehow. I think they're just throwing stones at them or something. Anyway, I used the distraction to try and push to the top of the map and capture this reinforcement point. As you can see, I already have the reinforcement point because some Ewoks already took it and the Empire don't have any infantry to decap it in the area. I couldn't push in with my vehicles because the enemy vehicles are too abundant here. But because we already control the reinforcement point, we have line of sight onto it, meaning our artillery pieces, our long-range missile launchers, can shoot stuff as it's walking around, and they probably can't see us while we're doing that, so that's incredibly helpful. I also realised I could cool down rocket launcher guys right in front of the artillery and just blow them up. There was a major problem with this strategy though, and that is while I'm looking away here considering putting reinforcements elsewhere, the enemy's TIE Maulers killed all the infantry that I landed in the first wave, so more infantry have to be cooled down. That's a shame, but we are going to successfully secure this area, wipe out loads of enemy vehicles, and get the map control we need. I ended up sending everything I had to attack along the northern edge of the map, meaning in the south our defences were quite light, and the Ewoks, who were forming the majority of our defences, got taken out by the enemy's artillery, but the line of sight that the reinforcement point I had down there provided allowed me to bomb the artillery and take them out. Meanwhile, we're destroying enemy buildings and pushing into the enemy base from the north. The Ewoks were proving somewhat unreliable at securing my rear flank down there, so I did send in some of our generic infantry just to provide a fight for the enemy and distract them from my attack on their base. And these regular infantry are enough to take out the enemy's artillery and regular infantry on their side, so that's an okay fight really. And meanwhile, here we go, just pushing in with loads of tanks, artillery and rocket launcher guys to blow up the enemy base. Their base was just mines, they had no facilities producing units, meaning this was actually very easy, and this battle in general was quite easy. We destroyed the base and it came down to just having to wipe out all the enemy's remaining units. They did have a pretty big ground army on the planet, and that's what we're actually fighting here. The Ewoks were ganging up on some entrenched stormtroopers there, but finding it difficult because their stones just don't do that much to these supposedly armoured troopers. Eventually a load of missiles finishes things off. So that's it, Endor is captured, and now the Empire don't have any planets left. The exchange there was pretty good as well. We killed loads of enemy units, losing not that many of our own, losing lots of Ewoks, but of course they don't count. So now we're in an interesting position because there are no enemies left on the map, but we're still playing. We're meant to go and do the neutral planet, which is a story mission, by sending a fleet there. But before we do it, we can just take this opportunity to build up loads of money and build up to the pop cap, having fleets and armies all over the place, and reinforce all the space stations up to max level so that our domain is very defensible. We're controlling like 2/3 of the galaxy right now, so the rebellion's looking pretty strong, but I was still paranoid that the Empire was going to throw something at me, so I spammed a load of units and gathered up loads of money before finally deciding to get on with this story mission. The thing we needed to do here was capture a pirate who was planning to turn information on the rebellion over to the Empire. You can see he's sailing towards an Empire fleet here, but the Empire are just kind of rude to him, and he apparently decides not to go ahead with it at the last second and just starts to escape. And then the Empire starts fighting him, they're just going to kill him instead. So our objective is to either kill him before the Empire do, or do something to make sure he doesn't at some point end up somehow telling the Empire whatever the information is. So we have to go after his ship. It was in the corner of the map, but unfortunately there was a corvette there shooting it. That meant I couldn't send my fast bombers to go and quickly just disable it. I was going to have to attack with my full fleet in order to save the bombers from being destroyed. The issue with that plan, of course, is that the enemy fleet is also around, and we ended up fighting each other since we were just floating on top of each other anyway. The enemy fleet wasn't especially enthusiastic about fighting back. I think it might be somewhat scripted, because I was able to just fly past it and then shoot behind myself to attack it without being in range of most of their broadside guns, and that proved to be pretty effective. So even though there's an Imperial Star Destroyer and we don't have anything on the same tier to take it down, it just eventually gets destroyed because it sat there doing nothing after a while. We easily took out their escorts, and using our bombers we can gradually destroy that ISD, even with most of my ships actually not paying much attention to that fight, because I was still looking for this pirate freighter. I was thinking maybe there was some sort of soft time limit where if you didn't catch this guy quickly the Empire would, so I was focusing on trying to get him, but I don't think there actually was. Anyway, we eventually disable his ship, then we send Antilles over to take a look, and he just says he's got the data. Not sure what that means. He's somehow hacked into his thing and got the information. So there we have it. The ISD was taken down. Now we just have to take out the interdictor ships, which were keeping everyone around, and that's not exactly going to be a problem. They do have weapons on them, those interdictors, but not very many. So our fleet destroys them, and then we decide to make a quick escape while we still can, even though it seems like we've completely dominated this area of space and have taken out the Imperial fleet. Maybe you weren't supposed to be able to take down the ISD. We somehow lost 2 fleet commanders in the fight. I think it's because we had 2 commanders on the same ship, a Nebulon B, and it must have been destroyed during that fight with the Star Destroyer, and I just didn't really notice. We can just instantly recruit 2 more fleet commanders to replace them. Now, we learn from the data that we took from the pirate that the Empire are making a Death Star, and we finally know what it's called, but to get more information on this project we decide we need a Master Smuggler, and that reminds us of good old Han Solo. He apparently is in trouble though. He was doing something or other over at Corellia in surprising synchronicity with the new Solo film like 10 years later, and has been almost captured by the Empire, so we need to swoop in and save him at the last second. He's stuck in the tractor beam of a Star Destroyer and is being dragged over to a station, and your objective is to destroy the tractor beam before he reaches the station. The initial problem is that there are 2 Star Destroyers right in front of where we spawn in. I thought maybe we can just run past them. I ordered the fleet to advance towards our target Star Destroyer, and indeed these 2 enemies decide to turn around to also join my fleet in this adventure, and they're not firing at me, which is pretty nice of them. I thought what I should do here is use all my bombers to drop proton torpedoes into their engines. That will dramatically slow them down, so the idea is that we can now get out of their range as we pursue the other Star Destroyer. It does mean we're now going to be flying right in front of them, so we're going to take lots of shots in this pursuit, but it's not enough to stop us overall. I think we lose a Nebulon B tanking some of their fire, but everything else makes it forwards to attack the Star Destroyer we're going after. We blow up its engines, then we blow up the tractor beam, and that immediately ends the mission. You don't have to go on with the rest of the fight, which is good because it was a pretty dangerous fight right there. Now, because we've done that, Han Solo owes us something, so he's going to do a mission for the rebellion. The mission we give him is to go to an Imperial supply depot and drop an EMP device in some cargo that's bound for a certain Imperial space station that we believe has information on the Death Star within it. So the EMP will disable the station's defenses, and then we'll go in to steal the information. I hope you can imagine what that will look like for a reason that's soon going to become clear, and you may guess what it is already. For now, I moved over to these asteroids, where it said I was fighting a powerful fleet, but actually this is just a story mission. That fleet isn't actually here in the battle, and I think it just gets deleted after the story mission we have to do here anyway. What you actually do in this mission is you play as just Han Solo, and you just have to fight a whole load of fighters and bombers. You fly from one side of the map to the other, looking for the cargo container to put the EMP in, and eventually just find it. Along the way we also killed Boba Fett. I'm speaking like this, describing the mission before it happens, because the recording unfortunately died at this point. The game crashed, as you can see, and then when I went back in to re-record it, we got us the black screen. There were about 50 minutes of black screen recording which had 3 story missions in it. So what's happening now is really out the window. Basically, first it was that one with Han Solo where we put the EMP in a thing. It wasn't too remarkable. Then it was the mission where we had to go and attack the space station that the thing disabled in order to get Death Star information. It was essentially a regular battle, but you had to protect a couple of transport shuttles at the same time, and it all went fine, long story short. After that, there was a third mission where some of the information we stole from that station revealed to us that the enemy had plans for Mon Calamari cruisers tucked away for some reason, and Han Solo had to go and get them with this weird plan that didn't make any sense. We posted Han Solo and Chewie in a storage crate into the middle of an Imperial headquarters. Luckily no one checked what was in there, so they got in, and then there was a little mission where we had to steal an AT-AT, blow up some stuff, and get the plans and fly away. It was actually pretty cool, so it's a shame that that one in particular didn't get recorded. And once that was done, it actually opened up the entire map and the whole galaxy came into play. So now the war is really getting started, and we're going to have to see if our preparations have paid off. I forgot to mention we also lost our main fleet during that black screen of death era. You can see Corellia there, the place just next to Sullust has no space station defences. I sent the fleet to attack it and destroyed the space station, but the enemy counterattacked with a massive fleet that I guess they spawned with when all of these planets came into play. And we fought them for a long time. Both sides got pretty much wiped out in the engagement. But I think we lost in the end and had to retreat with just a few of our smaller ships. You can see there's that stack with a Corellian corvette as the strongest thing in it at Sullust. I think it's just a load of more minor ships waiting around with no capital ships in the stack there. Anyway, here's our actual story objective. The enemy are going to attack Mon Calamari with a fleet, and we just have to stop them. So it's a slightly non-linear objective. There's an enemy fleet somewhere that plans to attack Mon Calamari, and we have to stop them. A battle came up, but it's actually not related to the fleet attacking Mon Calamari. It's up here at Iton 2. I had sent a space fleet to occupy the space over the planet and was waiting to get a ground army decent enough to go and make the assault, but the enemy counterattacked. Their fleet looked much smaller than mine, so I thought, well, this is fine, we'll take the fight. But once the fight began, I realised that we were actually in trouble. The enemy have 3 Imperial Star Destroyers and loads of interdictors, so they can easily blow up all of my ships with these Star Destroyers' heavy firepower, and we can't retreat. This fight was the same sort of engagement that caused me to lose my main fleet that I mentioned earlier back in the black screen, where Star Destroyers can just gradually work through things like Nebulon Bs and assault frigates, and because we can't spam bombers or something like that, we don't have an easy counter to these Star Destroyers because we don't have Mon Calamari cruisers, which is the direct counter, quite yet. What I did then in this fight was not reinforce myself, just use the units I had initially deployed to try and take out the interdictors so that I could then retreat. While I did successfully destroy the interdictors, at least all the ones I could see, I still wasn't able to retreat. So maybe there was another one hiding in the corner, not quite sure. With that plan failed, all I could do is sit around and watch my fleet get destroyed. They did take an enemy Victory class frigate down with them, but we didn't do much damage to the Star Destroyers. We lost about half our fleet overall in that engagement, so it went better than the one that I couldn't show you. And ultimately this will prove to be not all that important, because this isn't the fleet we need to worry about. The risk would be that the Star Destroyers just go on and destroy everything else in the area, but they didn't, as the AI seems to do. I think at this point the AI is kind of scripted to attack only Mon Calamari, because it had fleets across the frontier that could easily have attacked and overwhelmed me at various points, but it just happened not to. So now there's a battle at Corellia, and now we are moving towards what the AI really wants to do. They're starting to capture a path towards Mon Calamari. I only have Corellia because of the somewhat exploitative move that seems to be possible, where every time you complete a story mission on a planet it goes neutral for a bit, so you just send one unit and you can capture it. So in a roundabout way, Han Solo's little mission where he almost got captured on Corellia and then we saved him led to us occupying Corellia somehow, so that was good. As for our defense of the space above it, it was a very short battle because the Star Destroyers in this fleet can easily wipe out our space station, meaning we don't get many free spawning units, and the battle was over quickly. We did take down one of their missile cruisers, so that was something. Now, I could counterattack right now to take it back, but I wanted to try and get a defensive battle if I could. I wanted their fleet to attack me where I had a high-level space station to help me out. We can now see the full power of the enemy's fleet after they reinforced themselves. 5 Star Destroyers, including Admiral Piet, a special one, and a whole load of supporting ships. Before we have to worry about that, we've got a ground battle because the enemy came to try and occupy Corellia, and I thought let's give this one a go. Since we've got our free spawned units, we can try and inflict some damage on the enemy. The Empire had apparently put turbo laser towers here, so I thought that would help, but not really, because the enemy army has absolutely loads of artillery who can easily take out the turbo lasers at range. As I advanced with my scout tanks, I discovered that indeed there's just an infinite supply of these artillery pieces back here. Their army's almost all artillery, so while I thought my scout tanks might be able to take out the couple of pieces we saw at the start, actually they're going to get wiped out. Luckily though, they will respawn. There are some random TIE maulers across the map attacking my buildings. I'm going to go after them using my infantry, even though they might get run over. In this case, the infantry also infinitely respawn, and some of the infantry are local population type infantry, so they're extra expendable. This group doesn't quite succeed in taking out that mauler there, but I just scroll up, grab some more of the locals who are hanging around and say, well, you try it, and this time they will be able to take out that mauler. So with our infinite human wave strategy, we can absorb artillery fire and try to buy time to set up turrets. Every time I set up a turret though, the enemy do spot it and take it out, so we're not having much luck with them. I do, however, get some scout tanks behind the enemy's position, and now that the enemy have spread their artillery out a bit to attack in different locations, a couple of scout tanks can wreak havoc. We actually destroy all of the enemy artillery at this phase in the fight by just running right up to them so they can't shoot us, and then using our really weak guns to gradually destroy them. Enemy bombers get rid of our factory making these tanks, so we only have the ones we have left alive now, but by this point in the fight there's only one artillery piece left. We take it out and then it's just infantry to deal with, and since we're still spawning loads of free infantry, all we need to do is spam our inf against theirs and we'll win eventually. We have the numbers on our side, and indeed soon the battle is over once we've hunted down all the remaining stormtroopers. So that actually went surprisingly well. The enemy's quite poor composition left them vulnerable to our low quality units just rushing them and taking them out, so that was all good. The Empire, for whatever reason after that fight, massively reduces the strength of the fleet over Corellia, sending a couple of Star Destroyers back to Coruscant to defend, I guess, meaning I could counterattack right now. I actually have enough Mon Calamari cruisers available to just overwhelm the enemy. If I just put all of my fleets into one big block, I could take out the enemy's main fleet with overwhelming numbers. However, I don't, because I'm still planning to not only take Kurlag, which is what I'm trying to micro right here, but to force the enemy to attack me, so I'll get a defender's advantage with the space station. And thanks to that little hyperspace lane, I was able to quickly jump in front of the enemy fleet before it went to attack Kuat, after I falsely gambled, or wrongly gambled, that it would go for Botha Wui. So we do capture the space over Kurlag, but then we have this battle. Just the sort of fight I was looking for. The enemy fleet is a little bit weaker than ours by the looks of things. Their ships might be better, but we have quite a lot more, and we have the space station on our side. The perfect chance then to show how powerful the rebellion has become. Those Imperials are in trouble. I'll bring you this very big and decisive battle next time, as well actually as the entirety of what remains of the rebel campaign.